How do you solve a problem like Islam and Gaza? How can we achieve peace in the Middle East? Since we currently have another war going on. Oh, in case you didn't know, because the media and the news decide to propagandize you, they didn't want to tell you the truth of what's actually happening. Around about 6 hours ago, the terms of the ceasefire were broken. And the way they were broken is 4 hostages were meant to be released back to the Israelis. And what they actually received were 4 dead bodies. Not only that, straight away the Gazans were on social media bragging about how they had mutilated and killed these 4 hostages, these defenseless, unarmed hostages. And this destroyed the ceasefire. So then Israel said, right, we've had enough of your games and your breaking your agreements. We are now going to go to war with you. We're going to invade you and we're going to beat you. And that's exactly what I expect to happen. So, despite the fact that the news didn't want to tell you this, Gaza and Syria are now imminently going to be invaded by the IDF. But have you ever wondered about this? Why is it that Islam cannot live peacefully around other people who aren't Muslims? Why is that? Is it to do with their nationality or their ethnicity? I think we all know that it is not. Is it to do with their cultural approach? Possibly. But why does their cultural approach have this fascination, this obsession with killing Christians and Jews and converting everybody who remains to Islam? Well, it's because of their holy book, the Quran, and their God, Allah. So let's break it down. The beginning of the Quran is a prayer, 7 lines long, called Al-Fatiha. And during the 7 lines of Al-Fatiha, Allah makes his Muslims recite a prayer in which they surrender their free will to him and they become his slave. Now, the way they become his slave is by committing to what he calls the straight path. The straight path from the day you are born, or the day you become Muslim, in a straight line towards the judgment day, which is achieved when everybody else on earth is dead at the hands of Muslims. So no more Jews, Christians, apostates, atheists, pagans, Buddhists, agnostics, Zoroastrians, anybody else. They all have to die. Now, Muslims will tell you this is not the case. Muslims will say, no, they can all just convert to Islam, as if that is any better. But even this is a lie. Because we know even converted apostates or converted infidels, the kufir, the dirty ones, dirty ghosts is how that translates, the kufir, dirty ghosts, white people. Allah created them with evil souls as the enemies of the true Muslims. And Allah himself says in his Arabic Quran, these guys will never ever be truly Islamic. So they can pay jizya, which is a tribute, a war tribute, to delay the coming of the Muslim swords until the globalized intifada, the jihad, arrives and they have their heads separated. So that will definitely happen, and the way we know it will is because in Al-Imran, the 3rd book of the Quran, it describes how the judgment day will come about. And wouldn't you just know that without the deaths of every single Jew, Christian, apostate, atheist, pagan, agnostic, Zoroastrian, and everybody else, without those people dying at the end of a Muslim sword, it has to be Muslims that kill them. Without that happening, their paradise cannot be created. Like, it will never exist without that happening. So that means Muhammad and all the other dead Muslims, they're not actually in paradise right now. They're in a kind of Muslim purgatory, like a spirit plane between life and death, where they're in the grave still, but in spirit they're fighting a jihad against you and I, Christians, Jews, apostates, atheists, everyone else. So they can't wait to die. right after they've killed everyone else. And that is how they will get their judgment day. And after having been judged by Allah, then they will get their paradise and the jihad will be complete. This is all in their Quran. Anyone can buy a copy and read that. So that is the reason why there is never a two-state solution, why there is never peace, why negotiations always break down, and why they constantly flaunt their dishonesty and break their ceasefire bargains, why hostages come back dead, why we have rape gangs in London preying only upon non-Muslims, and why there is currently wars in Gaza and in Syria. It's nothing to do with British oppression, the British mandate. It's nothing to do with Winston Churchill. It's nothing to do with Israel or Netanyahu or the IDF. It's nothing to do with that. No one's being paid shekels to keep this war going, apart from the Gazans, who are being paid shekels to try and get them to calm down. But as we know, this will never happen until they are dead. So this is how the war is definitely 100% going to end. Islam will be physically defeated by Israel's IDF and the international coalition of growing anger. The forces of America, some French and German and British troops are now joining the fray. And what will happen is Gaza, Syria, Lebanon, Iran, Jordan, Egypt, Afghanistan, all these Islam countries, Turkey, are going to have to choose, are they willing to die and feed the worms for this cause of Palestine, or are they going to back the fuck off and leave Gaza to its fate, which it has begged for and is now being generously served? What do you think? Do you think this 10-to-1 outnumbering, this relatively loud but very, very ineffective supporting cast of exterior foreign Muslims who have never even been to Gaza, do you think those guys, when it comes down to it, are going to lay their lives on the line for this cause of Palestine? Or do you think they're going to remain safe and sound at the end of their Western keyboards, sucking in all that lovely free international money, having a very loud voice against the oppressive British Americans and the evil Jews, but doing absolutely fucking nothing about it? And watching as Syria, Iran and Gaza get completely wiped out in a war they started and would refuse to negotiate for peace. Because that's exactly what I see happening. And it's not going to be long until it does. Probably at the end of next month we'll see the full anger of this war break out. And then within a year of that war will be over. The IDF will be calling it a victory, and what's left of Islam will be running and scurrying and hiding. And Syria and Gaza will once again be liberated. But the question I want to leave you on at the end of this video, the conclusion if you like of this short video, is this. How long is it going to be before we take our responsibility in the effect this Middle Eastern war is having on us here in our country? How long before we realise, when we flung open our doors and invited millions of terrorists supporting immigrants here and allowed them to forgo learning our language or accepting our culture, we allowed them to Islamise parts of our country, turn them into no-go areas, and in doing so the crime rates shot up, thievery, murders and rapes, paedophile perversions, all shot up. How long is it going to be before we realise this is our country, the leaders who let this happen were voted in by us, and for it to be prevented from happening again in future, we are going to need to put our foot down and stop it happening again through our votes. And that means not voting for the Labour Party, not voting for Reform, not voting for UKIP. So the only people you can vote for is the Greens, the Liberal Democrats, or the Tories. Otherwise, this is what you're going to get. And even some of the Tories are actually looking to lean left now. So, that's the end of this video. Think about it clearly. The reason this war continues is because it is based on a cult religion, Islam. The writings of the Quran stipulate that this entire world belongs to Muslims. Allah gave it to them. His bounty of East and West is only for them. Neglects to mention why he would give it to the rest of the world and have them live there with all the money, and then give it to the Muslims and tell them they have to kill everyone. We'll talk about that bit. But nonetheless, until people realise that this war is not about land or politics, it's about a genocide of Jews and Christians enacted by peaceful Muslims, then this war will go on. And just thank God that Israel have the balls to stand up to these guys, despite the international condemnation, the propagandization through the media, and every other problem they could possibly dig up to throw. The 10-to-1 Muslim supporting foreigners, these gutless rats, are not going to turn out to put their lives on the line. And that means, in the end, Israel going to have a relatively simple task of eradicating terrorism from their country and possibly the surrounding countries, and bring peace back to the Middle East so we can all get back on with our lives. Because that's what we want. We want free trade, democracy with human rights. We want peace. We want countries living alongside each other and not having to worry about the next time Hamas are going to parachute a bunch of soldiers in, abduct, rape and kill people. As we know, that's only going to happen if these guys are. So that's exactly what must happen. So that's the end of this short video. Hope you enjoyed that and you learned something. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. So there we are. The Middle Eastern conflict over the last 85 years in a nutshell. And if you need any further evidence, buy yourself a copy of the Quran, read Al-Fatiha, Al-Imran and Al-Nisa. That's all for now. God bless you all, and I'll see you next time.